Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Occult Perspectives. I am Tyler Smith. I am your host. I've had guests on Occult Perspectives a couple different times, but usually it's just me on here. Okay, so I've got something special for you guys today. We're going to go ahead and get into it. The Rose Cross Ritual. So, if this is your first video, if you have not watched any of the other ceremonial magic videos, then you are probably going to want to go back and watch those first, especially if you're new to the path, because the Rose Cross Ritual comes after the LBRP, the Lesser Invoking Ritual, the Pentagram, after the Middle Pillar, after you've done the Lesser Banishing Ritual of the Hexagram and learned the LVX. Then it seems the next practical step is the Rose Cross Ritual. I'm not exactly sure where in the Golden Dawn curriculum that it falls into, which grade, but this seems to be the next practice that you pretty much learn in, the main practice that you learn in modern magic. Although the Rose Cross Ritual is not part of your daily exercises, it's not something you have to do every time. It's pretty important. And something that I think is strange is that earlier on in magical texts and works, when they're telling you about the LBRP, they should talk a little bit more about, they seem to not warn you so much about how things like the LBRP light up the astral plane, so it can actually bring like a little bit of unwanted attention. And we're about to get into that right now. This is from Modern Magic on the Rose Cross Ritual. He says again, it's not part of the daily work. It is excellent and easy to perform. Not so easy. I'm going to try in this video, if I have enough time. I'm not sure how much time I have to film today, but hopefully we'll get into actually how to do the Rose Cross Ritual. I personally have not done it yet, so I'm still learning. I'm learning along with you guys. This is kind of where I'm at in my practices, and I feel, especially from the explanations that I'm about to read, that it's a pretty important one. And it's been calling to me for a long time. I've known about it for a long time. I have friends who are practitioners who have never even heard of the Rose Cross Ritual, though, so I find that strange. But let's get into it. So 5 main reasons for using this ritual. It's an excellent banishing ritual. Its effects are quite different from the LBRP. The LBRP ritual will protect you, but it also lights up the entire astral plane with its lines and pentagrams. It is very powerful. It seems to be more of like a masculine ritual. You're putting all this energy out in the LBRP. It can also have the effect of attracting the attention of sometimes unwanted astral entities, little nasties, as we have already discussed. Yeah, Michael Craig, he talks about those in some of the earlier chapters. It's more just like astral junk, basically, that comes through, and it's not really anything to worry about. Really, it's more about what you give, what you give your power away to, rather than any real threat, in my opinion, when you're doing that. But there could be rare instances where maybe you would attract the unwanted attention of something that's a little more serious of an issue. But the Rose Cross Ritual, on the other hand, it works like a curtain by containing your aura. It will protect you from unwanted outside influences in a different way. Do not substitute the Rose Cross Ritual for the LBRP. Always do the LBRP first. Be sure to do the LBRP before any magical ritual. Use the Rose Cross Ritual for self-enclosure. For an example, if you feel troubled and cannot focus your attention, do the LBRP to banish any outside influences that may be distracting you, and then follow this with the Rose Cross Ritual to regain your peace of mind. Moving on. There's a little bit in here about the Tetragrammaton and I think that's how you pronounce that. Tetragrammaton and the Pentagrammaton. We won't get too much into that, but I do want to talk a little bit about the sacred words that are used in this ritual, the Rose Cross Ritual. So you also get like this kind of invisibility he talks about. It's not literal invisibility, but it can sometimes have that effect. So I'll just go ahead and read this part. The curtaining effect induces a type of invisibility to the world around you. This is not to say that you become invisible in reality, nor should you infer that people who are looking closely for you will not find you. But if people are not looking for you in particular, you will tend to be ignored. Thus you have the effect of invisibility. He says he doesn't recommend breaking the law. However, he wanted to share this one experience. One time he was late for an appointment and knew that he would have to speed in his car to get to the appointment. I think it's funny, he says he quickly did both the LBRP and the Rose Cross ritual. If he's already late, that's funny that he's kind of performing those rituals in the first place. I would have just gotten in the car, probably. But he was driving fast, very fast, and that's probably why he knew he was going to have to drive way too quick. He must have done those rituals pretty quick, though. That's wild. Suddenly, a highway patrol vehicle came up from behind and turned on the red light. I thought I had missed some variable in my magic, and it had failed. But to my surprise, delight, and relief, they pulled over the car next to me, even though we were going at the same speed. The highway patrol ignored me as if I never existed. And of course, he says be careful if you're considering using this technique. If the highway patrol isn't seeing you, then drivers in other vehicles won't be seeing you either. So be extra vigilant so that you see them. And that's an important thing while driving at any time. You know, you always want to be conscious and vigilant and knowing what's going on with the other vehicles around you. It's more about you staying alert, because it's usually going to be the other person who makes a mistake. Okay, reason number 3 to perform this ritual. It's good preparation for meditation. It works by calling forth your higher self. Thus, it can be helpful when doing a problem-solving type of meditation. You can do this ritual with the aim of aiding others who are hurting either physically or spiritually. Damien, we'll get to in a minute. I'll read some of Damien Eckel's explanations about the Rose Cross, how it's a pain, it helps relieve pain. When you're healing people either physically or spiritually, healing people who are hurting either physically or spiritually, you build up in your mind an image of the person you wish to help. You place that image in the center of the room where you do the ritual. You do the ritual with the image of the person you are aiding as the center of the ritual. Draw down the light upon the image of the person you are aiding. When the ritual is over, command the figure you have mentally created, along with its now added peace, serenity, and well-being, to return to the actual person for whom the ritual is being done. Tell the figure to go back to the real person and take with it the grace of divinity. Of course, this falls under the jurisdiction of gray magic, so you always get the permission from the person, and you do divination with the tarot to make sure that it's going to go out, it's going to turn out okay. And reason number 5. Sometimes you may find yourself in a place where there are negative psychic vibrations. Some people just really put off like a really bad vibe, or they've just been around such negative energy that they continue to carry it with them. As an example, you may feel uncomfortable in a house where negative people live or where terrible things have occurred in the past. You don't have the right or the duty to fix the place or the people. In fact, the people there may be unaware of the situation, and even if they were aware, they might not want you to do magic for them or desire any changes. Change and evolution. Change is a constant, but evolution's not for everyone. It's not always for those who are not ready for it. It's going to come find them in some way. As magicians, we want to consciously direct the flow of our evolutionary course, rather than just being at the whim of everything. But sometimes, every once in a blue moon, we do have to end up being surprised too. There have to be some pleasant surprises in life. This ritual will not so much banish the negativity in the aether as it will protect you from the invasion of your psychic body, your astral self. Interesting. Okay. And then, you end up doing the LVX basically at the end of the Rose Cross ritual anyway, because it says here you should already know the lesser banishing ritual, the hexagram, and the LVX. So the pronunciations that Donald Michael Craig has in here, the 2 sacred words that are going to be used during this ritual, is Yeha-Shua. That's the one you use like for 90% of the ritual, and then towards the end you use another word. Use Yehovah-Shah. And we're mostly going to follow Donald Michael Craig's version of the Rose Cross ritual, although he has you use incense, and that's also like you just burn incense in the air and you form these crosses with the incense. Also, the Golden Dawn says that, but Damien says to just use, the 2 points of your finger like an athame to draw these shapes, and that's what I'm going to be teaching in this video. I don't think it's appropriate to use your full-blown athame, with a dagger to do this ritual. It seems more like either just use incense or use your your index and your middle finger. That's what I would recommend. If you have other thoughts, always feel free to comment and tell me what you think. Okay, so he's talking about the letter Shin and how it has a connection with Jesus. It looks like 3 small flames. It's the Holy Spirit, the Ruach. Shin, when it's placed in the middle of the tetragrammaton, we get the pentagrammaton, the 5-letter name. This word is a symbol representing the union of divine masculinity and femininity. And then he goes on to say, biblically, any person who would be a savior or messiah to himself or herself must be able to unite divinity with physicality. And this union of all opposites comes by the way of the Holy Spirit. Thus, any savior must be this 5-lettered name, the pentagrammaton. You must be the star. If you pronounce the pentagrammaton in Hebrew, here we go. This is the first sacred God name you use in this ritual. It is Yehashua. Some people today use Yeheshua or even just Yeshua, which is usually translated as Joshua. However, in Greek, it became Yesu, which in English became Jesus. Thus, the name Jesus isn't a name at all, it's a title or a description, and anyone can come to hold the title. The process described by the pentagrammaton is that each of us must find our own union with divinity. It's that Christ consciousness. We cannot have a vicarious atonement. Nobody can rid us of our past, present, and future karma or, quote, sins. Each of us must be our own savior, our own messiah. Each of us must become Jesus. This is a policy, more personal responsibility, rather than just trying to give all the responsibility away to an external force. We cause what happens in our lives. We are not victims of fate or some lords of karma. I'm going to skip this next chapter. This is the second sacred word that Donald has you use at the end of the Rose Cross ritual, the last time you formulate the Rose Cross. Another form of the pentagrammaton puts the shin between the va and the second he, and this gives the word Yehovah-Shah. It represents the unity of masculine and feminine on the physical plane by way of the Holy Spirit of the divine, or the Ruach Elohim, and is presided over by the union of archetypal masculinity and femininity. This is, by the way, one of the secrets of tantric yoga and sex magic, but that is for another lesson. Of course, he mentions if you don't like the typical, if it seems sexist to you, to just, the societal way we view male and female, then think of it as positive and negative, not as good and bad, but more as the yin and yang. Yin and yang is a better explanation. It's just poles, like a battery, like terminal poles, not in the sense of good and bad. Projective and receptive, electric and magnetic, etc. Of course, the cross predates Christianity by a long shot, and Donald read somewhere that there were over 200 forms of crosses in use before Christianity even began. Okay, so before we actually get into the Rose Cross ritual itself, and I'm going to try and film it as best I can, I have my markers on the floor from where I do the LBRP and the other rituals, in the normal cardinal directions, northeast, south, and west. But then I also have white pieces of paper that are the spaces in between, which is what we're going to get into in the Rose Cross. And I actually drew this Rose Cross. It's not the best. It's me and my elementary school level drawing here, but I just wanted to kind of get a visualization in my mind of what the Rose Cross would look like. Because the crosses are supposed to be golden color, I believe. The light that is connecting these crosses is white, and then the rose, of course, is red. In the middle, you draw the red circle. And then I wrote, the names Yehashua on there, and Yehovah-Shah. Yep, that's how you say it. Yehovah-Shah. All right, so let's see what Damien has to say about this ritual real quick. And once again, he's stating the preliminary, this is an advanced ritual. He highly recommends you've been doing the lesser banishing ritual, the pentagram, the lesser invoking ritual, the pentagram, the middle pillar, and I would recommend even the lesser that you already know, the lesser banishing ritual, the hexagram, and the LVX, both. you kind of need to know the LVX because you perform the LVX once again at the end of the Rose Cross ritual. So Damien started doing this exercise daily when he was in prison, mostly to help cope with his ongoing physical pain, which, as I stated earlier, is one of the beneficial side effects of this practice, is pain relief. So that's always nice. Some of us deal with chronic pain and stuff, so that can really help with that. I think ritual just in general really helps with that. It gets you breathing, it gets your, everything's flowing, everything opens up, you're able to relax. The Rose Cross, he says again, as we said before, should never be used in place of any of the basic pentagram rituals. It's best added after them to add power and blessing to any other magic you've performed. Just as the LBRP equilibrates the aspects of us associated with the plane of Yesod, so the Rose Cross ritual harmonizes the parts of us that exist higher on the Tree of Life in the sphere of Tiphareth or Tipareth. So it's working more with the heart chakra center in the middle of the Tree of Life. I'm not going to get my Tree of Life diagram out right now. I've shown it to you in many other videos, so I'm sure most of you know where Yesod and Tipareth are on the Tree of Life. This practice employs, I was going to say you shouldn't be performing this ritual if you did not know. So this practice employs several techniques you're already accustomed to, inhaling and visualizing the earth filling up with light, for example. So Damien, he emphasizes more the breathing in of this light. He always says, when you breathe in, imagine the light throughout this whole ritual. The light's going down into the earth, and then as you exhale and vibrate the name and do the drawings, then the light comes up through your feet, very much like in the LBRP, and comes out your hands, into the object that you're drawing. So this practice employs several techniques you're already accustomed to. His focus around inhaling and visualizing the earth filling up with light, for example. But one primary difference between this ritual and the LBRP is that the energetic boundary you draw around your temple here is shaped more like a cube as opposed to a circle. The geometry here is a little more confusing in the Rose Cross, and I've seen some three-dimensional outlines of it, and it's still hard for me to wrap my mind around all the geometry that's going on simultaneously in this ritual. It's a very cool one. I'm still learning more. According to the walls, floor, and ceiling of the room you find yourself in, of course. Most people find the Rose Cross ritual to be a lot more complicated and difficult to perform than the LBRP, at least at first. There's just a lot more movements to remember, that's the main thing. The frustration and confusion I felt the first few times I tried it were almost enough to make me quit, but there was just something compelling about it that made me keep trying. So much that I became obsessed with it to the point of dreaming about it at night. One thing that really helped me get over the hump was having the instructions right there with me as I walked from corner to corner in the room, and that's what we're about to do. I'm about to pick up modern magic and carry it with me and try with this camera as best I can to show you how this ritual works. As I've said elsewhere, the cross is a universally important symbol that predates Christianity by thousands of years. The cross used in this ritual represents the 4 cardinal directions, as well as the 4 elements that are transformed within us through the discipline of magic. And the cross is also the union of the divine and the physical as well, as we've said many times before. All right, so that pretty much covers all the background to the ritual, like what the symbolism of it is, what it's doing on an energetic level. And here in a second, we take another little sip of coffee. We are about to get started. Okay. Let's see how this works. So you actually will start. You prepare yourself, of course, you do the relaxation ritual. That's the very first step. You do the LBRP. And then it says that's really all you have to do before you do the Rose Cross. If it were me, I would recommend doing the LBRP and then the middle pillar ritual. Let's see here if he goes into any detail at the end, because I know you're supposed to do the LVX. So yeah, he doesn't really say in this, but I would assume you would do the LBRP first. If you're gonna do a lesser invoking, go ahead and do that. Do the middle pillar ritual, and then the lesser banishing ritual, the hexagram, and then I would assume it's okay to do the rose cross last. That's something that if any of you know the answer to, because I've tried looking up rose cross ritual videos on YouTube, and it seems like there's not very many people covering it. So this is kind of like new ground in a way as far as YouTube goes. There are some videos out there, but there just are not very many. Okay, so at this point you would light your incense, or if you're doing what I would do, you would just use your 2 index fingers. Now, as you can see here, I'm going to show you the floor. Hopefully you can see that. That's the east. So there's the southeast right there, because there's my south marker right there. We've got the southeast, and there we've got the southwest. And as you can see, I'm just going to show you the whole circle there. Hopefully I'm showing you the right directions. So you can kind of see on the floor there. Coming back here. Okay, so you begin in the center. So you start in the center, and then you go to the southeast corner. And I'm going to try to hold the book and use the incense to make a large cross and rose circle. So here we are in the southeast, and you do a cross up to down, left to right. And then you start from the bottom when you draw this circle. So you'll go like this in a circle, and that's the rose in the middle, and then you'll vibrate the word like that. So just wanted to show that to you real quick. Southeast corner, make the cross and the rose, making your strokes in the air in the order indicated at the top of the next column. Okay, yeah, I already showed you that. So when you form the circle, you start, as you can see here, see where that number 3 is? That's your 3rd stroke. The first stroke is from the top of the bottom, it's the cross. The second movement is from left to right, the second line of the cross, and then the 3rd one starts from the lower right-hand side, and that's how you move around in the circle to form your rose. The image should be about the size of, or very slightly smaller than, the pentagrams or the hexagrams of the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram and the banishing ritual of the hexagram. So as you form, here, it's just going to be easier to show you with this book. So as you form the rose, you vibrate the God name Yehashua, and the last syllable goes in the middle. So on the final syllable, ah, you should stab the center of the circle with the lit tip of the incense, or your 2 fingers, the mudra, this sword mudra, at the point where the arms of the symbol meet at the center of the rose, and feel the energy going out and charging the symbol. So once you've formed this, you vibrated that name, Yehashua, you point your index finger back at the rose cross, and then you go ahead and move to the southwest. And it is very hard to show this to you on the phone. I could try and set the camera up somewhere, maybe, and move around, but I think it's going to be easier to maybe show you on the piece of paper too. I'm not sure. I didn't think about this well enough. Let's see. If I set it there, can you actually see me all the way around? No. Okay. So I'm going to have to try to do this a different way. Okay. So hopefully you can see this piece of paper right here, because, yeah. Okay, so you start here, you go to the southeast, you form your rose cross, then you use the sword mudra, you go here to the southwest, you form another rose cross, and vibrate the word Yeha Shua. Okay, and then you go, so you've moved from the southeast to the southwest. Now you move here to the northwest, and you form the cross, vibrate the name. Move to the northeast, vibrate the cross, or form the cross, vibrate the name. And then you go back to the southeast, connecting the square. So basically the first thing you form here is a square of light, and you made it back to your original station. So the first one, I'm going to show you my circle. It would go here, and then you make a line that connects to your other rose cross here. Then you make a line that connects to your other rose cross here. And then you make one that goes here. These are all straight lines. And then back to your original southeast corner right here. So hopefully you can kind of get a visualization of what's going on here with just me showing you the circle diagram itself. Hopefully this will make enough sense. Okay. So we're back at the southeast. Immediately turn to face the direction diagonally across the room to the northwest. So this is where things get interesting. You're in the southeast and you're moving towards the northwest, so you're going to move diagonally across the room. So let's go ahead and start over here. But as you move diagonally, you're going to want to draw this line of light. From what I understand, it's straight. You're not curving it in an arc over, you're drawing it like straight, linear, like that. So you're going to start from your rose cross here and go up and make a line, and you vibrate a rose cross up here. And you vibrate the name, and then you continue to carry it to the rose cross that is on the other side. So on the piece of paper, you're going from the southeast, you go here to the middle, you vibrate the rose cross up in the ceiling, you know, up in the air, and then you carry it back over to the northwest. Okay. When you're in the northwest, you come, Donald says you of course connect it to the rose cross in the northwest, but you do not reform the figure or vibrate the name here. So we're in the northwest now. We formed this original square, and now we've moved here from the southeast here to the middle, formed our rose cross, and come here to the southwest, or I'm sorry, the northwest. And we're just connecting the rose cross. We're not vibrating the name again because there's already been a rose cross formed there. Okay, then you point so now you're here in the northwest, and you go back towards the southeast, the original spot. Now, how you drew one on the ceiling last time, you draw one on the floor as you come back around the other way. So now there's a rose cross on the ground, you need to vibrate the name there on the ground. So here we are in the northwest. You'd be bringing the line back down. You'd come here, you'd form the rose cross in the middle, vibrate the name, and then you will go back to the southeast. And of course, when you go to the southeast, you do not vibrate the name again. Bring the tip to the interlacing bars of the cross, which you've already formulated at the southeast corner. Do not redraw the rose and cross or vibrate the name in this corner. Okay, so far, hopefully this is not too hard to follow. But here's this picture again, this circle. Hopefully you can see that. And so you start in the southeast, you form the rose cross, go to the southwest, form the rose cross, northwest, form the rose cross, northeast, form the rose cross, connect your square, And then you move towards the middle here. You form a rose cross in the middle, and then you connect your rose cross over here. Then you move back towards the middle and do one on the floor, and you connect your rose cross here to the southeast. Again, and that's where we are. Point to the center of the southeast cross, then walk in a clockwise direction to the southwest corner. So now you go from the southeast to the southwest. You go here. All right. And you don't re-vibrate the name, of course. Now you move diagonally to the northeast. You stop at the middle station to re-vibrate the word, but you do not reform the cross. You just vibrate the word again. And then you'll come back around the way you came and re-vibrate the name below you, but you do not redraw the rose cross. So we've gone from the southeast to the southwest. You're doing the same thing again. You're stopping in the middle and looking up at the ceiling, vibrating the rose cross at the ceiling. You continue to move here to the northeast. You're just connecting the line. You're not re-vibrating anything. Then you move back towards the middle. There's a rose cross on the ground that you're re-vibrating the name, but you're not reforming the cross. Then you move back to the southwest and you reconnect everything. Point to the center of the cross in the southwest. Then you go in a clockwise direction around the circle, pointing to the center of each cross. Do not remake the figure or vibrate the name again. And you go from the southwest to the northwest to the northeast and return to the southeast station. Now, as you can see, this is a lot of movements and stuff, so I'm going to show you everything again up until this point, because this is you return back to the southeast. That's where you start all of this. And when you get back to the southeast, I'll teach you in just a minute, you reform the rose cross in a bigger version and you vibrate the name a little bit differently. But I promise we're almost done. So starting over, so everything started here in the southeast. You formed the rose cross. You formed the rose cross here in the southwest. You formed one here in the northwest. You formed one here in the northeast. You connected your square. Then you moved here to the middle, across to the northwest. You formed a rose cross here in the middle, up there. Go to the northwest, go down, form a rose cross on the floor, vibrate the name too, and then you come back around to the southeast. Then you just move your line here to the southwest. You do the same thing. You go to the middle, but you don't reform the rose cross. You just vibrate the name. Go to the northeast, loop it around, or straight line it down, and connect it to the floor. You re-vibrate the name, but you don't redraw the symbol. Then you come back here to the southwest. Then you go to the northwest, the northeast, and the southeast, and you're back to the southeast at the beginning, where you were at the beginning of this ritual. Okay, so you're here in the southeast. We're in the original spot that we started at, right here. And this is when you remake the cross this time. So you do make another rose cross here, but it's bigger. You make the cross like as big as you can possibly make it. It's this golden cross. I believe that's the color he says to visualize it. As a golden cross. I was trying to find the actual part in the book where he says that, but I'm pretty sure they're not white, they're golden crosses, kind of like how my drawing was. But anyway, let's continue. So you're in the southeast again, you draw this big, massive cross, and then you also make the rose appropriately bigger too, basically the same dimensions as you're making this giant cross. And as you slowly form the bottom half of the circle, you vibrate the original name we've been vibrating for this whole ritual. Every time you go to a rose cross, you vibrate the Yeh-Ha-Shua. So this time when you make the big rose cross, hopefully you can see that, you go here, you make the big cross, and then you say Yeh-Ha-Shua on the bottom half, but then as you go around to do the top half, you vibrate the name Yehovah-Shah, which was the second divine name we learned. and you stab the middle on that last syllable, Yehovah Shah. So the whole thing together will be Yehashua Yohavah Shah. You know, and you're using, probably, I use my right hand. It's hard for me to look at the camera while I'm also holding it. But yeah, so you're still in the southeast. Once you formulated this rose cross, you point to the center. You're pointing to the center of it. You've basically formed your final rose cross. So now you just go back to the center of your area and you face east. So now you've ended in the southeast. Basically, you're coming back here to your original spot, and then you're facing the east. And then from there, you do the LVX. You do the analysis. Oh, sorry. You face east and visualize the 6 rose crosses around you that you have just drawn. Around, above, and below you. The crosses should be golden in color, and the lines connecting them between the corners and above and below should be brilliant white. So there you go. Yep, the crosses are gold, and the lines connecting them all are brilliant white light. The roses should be bright red, of course. Thus, you should have a protective sphere all around you. It's not just, it's not as like three-dimensional. It has more dimensions to it than the LBRP because you're more just working with the cardinal directions and the four points. This, you have more of a cube going on rather than a square. There's more dimensional stuff. After you've seen the rows of crosses all around you, you've visualized this protection. Now you can do the analysis of the key word from the Banishing ritual of the hexagram. Start from vibrating the INRI through let the divine light descend. Be sure to use the appropriate actions as described in that ritual. We've covered the LVX before. And yeah, that's how the beginning of it starts out. You form the cross and you vibrate I-N-R-I, and then you draw with the sword mutra, the Hebrew letters in blue. LVX ritual. Look that video up of mine that I have done before if you need any help with that. But everyone, that pretty much sums up the rose cross ritual as best as I can explain it. I put pretty much everything I know about it into this video. As I've said before, I've never performed it myself. Sorry the camera work was so rough, but hopefully with the picture and the book and the movements and stuff, I was able to explain it to you a little bit better than maybe if you just tried to read it on your own or whatever. And I don't think Damien had really anything too much extra to say about it. Yes, he says, of course, might be helpful to research. I always recommend to research other people, not just my videos. That would be silly if you just watch my videos because I'm just pulling from other sources myself. Hardly any of this is, the only thing that might be considered original, but it's not really even original, it's just my interpretations on a lot of this stuff. But it might be helpful to research the Rose Cross ritual on the internet and study the writings of other magicians. You never know when you'll come across a diagram or description that will help you understand this practice, and others for that matter, in a profound way. You could also go old school and check out Donald Michael Craig's Modern Magic, that's what we were just reading from, or John Michael Greer's Monsters, An Investigative Guide to Magical Beings. These are the 2 books that were tremendously helpful to me in prison when I had no internet access. Excuse me. And here's actually kind of an advanced drawing of the Rose Cross ritual room in a diagram, but to me, if I look at that, it kind of just confuses me as to like what the movements are that I'm actually supposed to be doing. And there's a lesser banishing ritual, the hexagram one, of course. So to me, it makes more sense to, I won't get the book back, but the diagram that I was showing you in Donald Michael Craig's Modern Magic, to me, that's an easier one to like see what's actually going on with the movements, and hopefully it helped you all out. So I hope you all are doing well. I haven't been doing videos as often, but I do still write notes all the time. I have plenty of material to cover. I would love to cover next probably Hermes, Thoth, Hermes Trismegistus, Thoth. They're basically the same entity or being, and get into maybe the Emerald Tablets a little bit. I've been working on my book too. I am writing a book on the connections between Freemasonry and ceremonial magic. And that's not something I release that pretty much just to close friends and stuff. So if you get to know me, you get to know this channel, just we're all part of a global network of finally evolving in consciousness, being able to share this information to the extent that the Spirit, allows us to. When people are ready for the information, it will pretty much come to, it will make its way to them. I kind of want to form a Patreon. I would like to get my book or manuscript published at some point. That would be very cool. But I'm not done writing it. And I'll edit it as much as I can myself. I'm not great with grammar and all that. So I've got that book going on that I'm working on. I'm working on some of my own endeavors. I've been studying the Rose Cross ritual. I'm always working on something, but my book, I've been working on. I'm pretty excited about that. Some of you I know who are subscribed to this channel I've given you access to that, and I think it's been hopefully rewarding and informative for you to be able to read some of my interpretations where I condense things down from different sources. And I feel like there was one other thing I wanted to mention. Oh, Patreon. At some point, I would like to make a Patreon. If I get enough followers, I can start doing a little bit more detailed, specific research rather than just. And a lot of my videos, I cover like one topic and then just kind of generally get into the basics of that. And I cover a lot of different spiritual topics. But if you wanted me to dig deeper into a specific topic, I think Patreon would be better for that. It's more specialized information. But I don't have a huge following yet, so I think it's important to have a lot of people see what I have to offer, for free. And personally, I think the whole world's controlled by money way too much. So for me, it's about leaving the information that people can just appreciate. If our bodies are not eternal, which I don't really accept that view. I think it's only our minds that are really destroying us. But it's more about what we leave behind, no matter what it all comes down to. It's about leaving that legacy for the next generation so that they can receive the light, they can receive that knowledge, and they can transmute this world into a better place. It's about, planting the good seeds and all that good jazz. So I love you all. Feel free to please comment, please subscribe, please ring the notification bell if you want to be notified of new videos. Peace and love, everybody. Take care.